basketball note, it might still be on ESPN right now as you're listening. If it's over, you'll definitely see some highlights on SportsCenter tonight. But the McDonald's All-American Games for the girls and boys high schoolers is going on tonight on ESPNU and ESPN. The boys' game is at 8 o'clock on ESPN. So tune in and check out who the starting five for Kentucky is going to be next year. All right, we'll get a quickie in here. In NASCAR, Kevin Harvick's 8-race in a row streak of finishing in the top 2 came to an end last week. I haven't been interested in anything related to racing for most of my life, to be quite honest with you. But that interested me. I found that to be a very impressive accomplishment and streak that he had going. I was rooting for him to get closer to or even tie or break Richard Petty's record of 11 in a row set back in the mid-1970s. He fell a little short, however, nonetheless impressive, and congratulations on your run, Kevin Harvick. And who knows, maybe now that you're done being the bridesmaid, you can get a couple first places in a row here coming up sometime before the season's over. And it'll be a long time before the NASCAR season's over, by the way. It's very early in the NASCAR season, so we got plenty of time to win some races, Kevin. All right, another quickie. We got the Masters coming up next week. A week from right now, the Masters Par 3 competition is going to be going on. I will be watching that during the day. And then on Thursday, the tournament will start. It is the first of the 4 majors every year in the PGA. On the PGA schedule, now it is still unknown if Tiger is going to compete or not. He has not competed since early February. One could cite health issues, others could just cite terrible golf play. Man, if you watch any of the footage of him playing when he played this year, it's like watching your buddy who golfs 3 times a year out on the course trying to golf. It is really that bad. He's trying to chip onto greens and he's hitting the ball 2 feet or he's hitting the ball 80 yards over the hole, and I'm not exaggerating. It's been beyond embarrassing. Embarrassing isn't even a good enough word for it. But it is. He's been practicing. He did shoot a practice round here at Augusta earlier this week. He has not announced if he will be playing in the tournament or not. I'm sure he wants to. If he feels healthy and like his swing could potentially compete, I'm sure he will give it a go. And then by the end of Thursday or Friday, will withdraw like he always does here now as of late. But so that's what I would expect with Tiger, although no way to know for sure. The other Tiger news is that he is now currently ranked 104th in the world golf rankings. Now this is the first time he has been ranked outside of the top 100 since he was a pro since 1996 when he was 20 years old. So Tiger just continues to fall. And we'll just have to wait and see if he can ever turn it around. Also, last weekend, final golf news, Jimmy Walker beat Justin Spieth to win the Valero Open down in Texas. And both of those guys, Spieth and Walker, have been playing great golf so far this year. And they're 2 guys to keep an eye on in the Masters coming up next weekend. But I'll have more preview on the Masters coming up next week, the night before the tournament starts. Okay, moving on to America's former favorite pastime, baseball. That's right. Baseball season is just around the corner. Opening day is so close you can almost smell the hot dogs and the beer. Although technically it's more opening night officially first and then opening day. The opening night game will be Sunday. This Easter Sunday. On ESPN, it will be the Chicago Cubs versus the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't know why I said Cardinals with a Boston accent. I don't know, but anyway, that will be the first game of the baseball season on ESPN Sunday night. Cubs Cardinals. Make sure to check that out if you can't wait until Monday. However, Monday will be when the Twins have their first game. That is their opening day. They play around 1 o'clock on Monday. And that is in Detroit against the Tigers. And I looked at the schedule today, and we're pretty much against our division the entire month of April, with the exception of 3 games against the Seattle Mariners towards the end of the month. And once we start playing on Monday, April 6th, the only days we have off are April 7th, April 14th, and April 23rd. And then the next day off is May 11th. So there will be Twins baseball almost every day for the next several months, beginning next Monday. Now, whether they're going to be any good this year or not, I don't know. I think they have a chance to improve. I don't think they're going to really contend for a playoff spot, but you never know. Pitching staff, starting pitching rotation is okay. There's Phil Hughes, opening day starter, he's a really, really good pitcher. That guy does not walk anybody. You look at the walks to inning, that guy just doesn't walk anybody. It's incredible. But I don't know that he's an ace on your roster. I think he'd be the perfect number 2 guy. But I don't know. That's ideally Irvin Santana, currently the number 2 guy in the rotation, could be very good. Question marks are on him though. Nolasco, the current number 3 guy that I saw in our rotation, this guy is freaking garbage. He's just keeping Alex Myers spot warm, who's going to hang out in the minor leagues for just a little bit longer yet before getting called up to the big time. So don't expect Nolasco to do anything or be around for very long. And then rounding out the rotation, you got Gibson and Malone. Both guys that can be decent, can be 10, 15 win guys if they got their stuff going. But we'll have to see. Bullpen, you still got Perkins closing, Dunsing in setup. Other than that, the middle bullpen, the middle relievers aren't the greatest. Not super terrible, I don't think, though. I'm not sure. And then when you look at the rest of the lineup, the outfield is very suspect, very weak. You got Arcia in left field, and Schaefer in center, and Torrey Hunter still trying to get something out of him in right field. I don't see really any production out there whatsoever. The infield's not so bad. You got Trevor Plouffe at third. He's okay. Doesn't quite hit as high of an average as you'd like. You got Danny Santana at shortstop, who's actually a great young player, along with Brian Dozier at second base. You got Joe Mauer, Kevin Vargas switching off between first base and DH. If Vargas could ever get it going, because that guy's freaking huge. He's huge. This guy's a monster for a baseball player. So you'd think he would be, that's our big David Ortiz power hitter guy, but he just doesn't produce that way. If he ever got that bat coming around, look out. And then you got Suzuki sitting behind the plate. They're a really good all-around offense and defense, a very solid catcher. So, the Twins are decent, but, we'll have to wait and see just how much noise they can make. And if some of these minor leaguers, like I said, like Alex Myers and stuff, get called up at some point and what they can do as well. But anyway, it'll be fun to watch, and it starts this Monday, 1 o'clock, Monday afternoon, Twins home opener, or Twins season opener, excuse me. Check it out. All right, final little bit of baseball news. The Cubs have a third baseman, a 23-year-old third baseman named Kevin Bryant. If you haven't heard of this guy, he was the second pick in the draft for them a few years back, and they have sent him back down to the minors after having him on the main team for spring training. And you think, well, that happens all the time, Well, he was batting over 400 with 9 home runs and like 15 RBIs. Had the best offensive numbers of pretty much anyone in Major League Baseball in spring training all around, if you put them all together. And they're sending him down to the minors. Now, the reason that they're doing this, that they're saying, is because, well, Theo Epstein, who's now in charge, says that, well, I've never started a guy, debuted him on opening day that hasn't played. Everybody starts in the minors and then gets brought up in the season. The reality of it is, if he spends the first 12 days of the season in the minors, they get a whole extra year of control of his contract that they would not get if they were to start him. So that's why they're doing it. In all reality, can't blame them. I don't like it. It definitely doesn't feel right, doesn't smell right. But I can't blame them. They're doing what's in the best interest of the team. They don't need to act in his best interest. And that's the way the rules in the league are set up to operate. So hard to fault them. But anyway, last bit of baseball news there. Some real quick NBA news. The playoffs start on the 19th of April here. The last game for the T-Wolves is the 15th of April. And the T-Wolves will hopefully continue to lose so that we can get one of the top 2 picks in the draft. If we got Jahlil Okafor or Towns from Kentucky to go with Wiggins, oh man, we could actually be really good for a long time real soon. Look out. So hopefully T-Wolves keep losing. We get one of those top 2 draft picks, and we're off to the races. Other quick NBA news, Kevin Durant is not going to be returning at all for the Oklahoma City Thunder. He had to go have foot surgery on his foot again, and he's out 4 to 6 months. Derrick Rose is looking to come back any day now for the Chicago Bulls. He has been practicing. And other NBA news, you've got the Golden State Warriors and the Atlanta Hawks have both clinched the number 1 seeds in the Western and Eastern Conferences for the playoffs. That's right. The Golden State Warriors and the Atlanta Hawks are your number 1 seeds in the NBA playoffs. Crazy. Crazy. We've also got a hot race for 6, 7, and 8 in the East because all those teams stink. They're below 500, and you got teams that are like 29 and 45 that are still mathematically in the playoff hunt yet in the East. But so it's at least competitive, I guess, even though it's competitive between poorly competitive teams. But so you got race for playoff spots and seeding there, and then really in the Western Conference, you've got a giant seeding race between seeds 2 and 6. And then seeds 7 and 8 are kind of locked in to where they're going to be unless Dallas could fall out, which is possible. But mostly it's the race for 8 between the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are currently in it, the Pelicans sitting at 9, who are finally starting to fall a couple games behind them to where it looks like they might not catch them, and the Phoenix Suns still hanging on with no real chance at 10th overall. Hopefully within a week or 2, by the end of the regular season in the NBA, we will be getting into a big MVP discussion for the NBA. Best MVP race I've seen in the NBA, maybe in my entire life, and as good as I've seen in any sport in any recent memory. So hopefully we'll be talking about that sometime within the next couple of weeks, but pointless to talk about it, in my opinion, until the season is over, because where these teams finish in the standings is going to play a very huge key factor, as it always does, but especially this year, in determining who gets that award and who finishes with what votes. So, all right, got to get a little bit of hockey in here, and then we'll get to the deep thought of the day. The Minnesota Wild got 6 games left, and they are freaking brutal. We got 3 home games in a row coming up tomorrow night against the New York Rangers, one of the best teams in all of hockey. And then we played the Detroit Red Wings at home, and then we play the Jets after that. And that is the worst team we play in this last 6-game stretch would be the Jets. And they got 90 points. They're likely going to be the 8 wild card spot to our 7 wild card spot unless we can catapult the Chicago Blackhawks and get into that bottom 3rd spot for our division rankings, which is possible, because we have the Chicago Blackhawks coming up after that Jets game, which stinks for 2 reasons. Not only is it a road game, but it's a back-to-back. It's the second of a back-to-back on the road. But if we win that, it's going to be huge. Could determine a lot as far as the playoff seeding goes. And then the final 2 games on the road against Nashville, the number 1 team in our division, and then finally against the number 2 team, the St. Louis Blues. So 6 playoff teams to finish out the season for the Wild. It's going to be tough. They're for sure going to make the playoffs, but it's looking like they're probably going to be the 7 seed. They won't fall all the way down to the 8th, but it's going to be hard to leapfrog the Blackhawks and get to the 6 or 5 seed. But that might not even matter. In hockey, you see 7 and 8 seeds end up going to the finals and winning it all fairly often, or at least in relation to other sports. So hockey doesn't matter. You just got to make the playoffs and be hot. That's it. That's all you got to do. So, and the Wild are definitely poised to do that. So again, the hockey playoffs start on the 15th of April, so a couple days before the NBA playoffs, and can't wait to watch the Wild on that. Last hockey note, Patrick Kane, injured superstar for the Chicago Blackhawks. He practiced, but he is still out and not expected to return until mid-May, which would be around conference finals or Stanley Cup finals time. All right, one last quickie, meaty quickie, and then we'll get to the deep thought here real quick. I'll only go a little bit over time tonight. But just to recap, everything that happened on WrestleMania. For those of you who tuned into our WrestleMania preview extravaganza last week, I was going to have Doug Sanders return this